PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we have a really good show planned out for you tonight as we're going to be breaking down the game that just happened recently as the Vegas Golden Knights took on the Washington Capitals, and that was a very good back-and-forth game, and thankfully your Vegas Golden Knights picked up the victory in this game. We're going to break this game down, talk about it in detail. But before we do that, I just want to let everyone know about www.prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Check out the website. We have about a dozen shows on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So if you want to go to the website, we have all our shows on there. You can go on, click on the links. They have all of the information on there. You can see our schedule, actually all the shows and what times they're available. So go to prconnectionsradio.com and check out all of the amazing content on our network. If you also want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio, they have all of the shows, including Vegas Hockey Hub, uploaded every single day onto PR Connections Radio. So if you want to support our channel, if you want to subscribe to our network, it would be much appreciated. And if you also want to go to the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, we try to upload every single day. We upload shorts. We also do kind of, some small clips, some good exclusive videos to try to put on the network as well. And we do what we're doing right here, our Vegas Hockey Hub recap show, where we recap where we try to recap every single game your Vegas Golden Knights do in a single season. This is going to be season 2 of Vegas Hockey Hub being on prconnectionsradio.com. If you also want to subscribe to all of our social medias as well, as Vegas Hockey Hub is everywhere. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you want to go to our Facebook, we have articles on there. We have all of our links to all of our shows as well. So if you want to go to the Facebook page and give us a like, it would be much appreciated. Or if you want to go to our Instagram, where we are putting up pictures of our events that we are going to, as Vegas Hockey Hub is going to Golden Knights games, Silver Knights games, UNLV hockey games. We're trying to do as much coverage as we can on the world of hockey here in Las Vegas. And also, if you want to go to our Twitter, where we live tweet every single Golden Knights game on our Twitter at Vegas Hockey Hub. We also do some good interactions. We try to, socialize everybody on Vegas Hockey Hub. So I will say go to our Twitter page at Vegas Hockey Hub. We can interact with you on there as well. And then lastly, if you want to go onto our TikTok, we do some skits. We try to, do some reposting as well onto the Vegas Hockey Hub TikTok at Vegas Hockey Hub. And lastly, if you want to follow your host on all social medias, my handle is at Ian Rachiele 18, IANRACHIELE 18. So going into this game, as we are recapping and breaking down what happened in this game, we have to talk about what happened before the game kicked off. Because there is a big lineup change and a big announcement that happened from the previous game that we talked about. We mentioned that in the previous game, Adin Hill had an injury. And Adin Hill was taken out in the second period. He went down the ramp. And we were hoping that best case scenario, that it would not be a serious situation. Well, unfortunately for all Golden Knights fans out there, Adin Hill is now out with a lower body injury. Now, what this means long term, we hope that he can be back soon. We hope that might be a few games at the most, but for now, Adin Hill is out with a lower body injury. Now, what this means is that they have gone to the AHL. They've gone down to Henderson. Jiri Patera is going to be recalled from Henderson. He'll be the backup goalie for tonight's game, and I have no doubt that eventually in due time, as long as Adin Hill is out, Patera is going to be in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. So that is definitely a big news for your Golden Knights because of how dominant and how good Adin Hill has been for your Vegas Golden Knights. He has been one of the best goalies in hockey, really the last year and a half. And I will say for your Vegas Golden Knights, it is a big deal that someone like Aiden Hill, your starting goalie, your number one goalie, is out with a lower body injury. So because of that announcement, Logan Thompson will be in net tonight for your Vegas Golden Knights. And I will say when it comes to the Golden Knights, when it comes to Logan Thompson, there is definitely some pressure here considering what we have seen with Thompson as of late. Logan Thompson has lost 5 outings in a row. His last win was back on November 2nd versus the Winnipeg Jets. It has been almost an entire whole month that Logan Thompson has not won a game. He has lost his last 5 outings. Like we said, against Anaheim, it was a 4-2 loss. He got shut out by Washington when they went to the Capitol a couple weeks ago. They lost to Washington. They lost to Philadelphia in a heartbreaker in overtime. And then there was the shutout in Arizona. And then the game that happened very recently, which was the shootout loss against Edmonton. Now, I've been saying on this show that Logan Thompson is not the problem. Majority of these losses that he has had, Logan Thompson is not at fault for these losses. The Washington game, it was just sloppy play by Vegas. Anaheim, they gave up the lead in the last period. They had the lead. They were up 2-0. They lost. You also had the Edmonton game where there was a good back and forth. Vegas rallied, overcame a 2-0 deficit, and got them into overtime. And the Arizona game, it was really a goalie duel between Ingram and Thompson. So, yeah, the last 5 matchups, I really can't look at LT and say that it was his fault, that he had a problem there. It just simply put, he has had some bad luck in this last few outings. So, him being in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, let's see what he can do in this game. Now, one funny moment that happened about 15-20 minutes before your game kicked off. The Washington Capitals had only one goalie present at T-Mobile Arena. And this was pretty funny considering the backstory to this. So, the Washington Capitals, who had played very recently up to this point, only had Darcy Kemper in net. He was the only person available. Charlie Lindgren, he was not going to be available. And their backup goalie, Hunter Shepard, who was going to be in the AHL, he was not ready. He was in Charlotte the day before in the AHL. They recalled him. He was supposed to be here by the time the game kicked off, but he was not ready. He was not suited up. He wasn't in pads. So if the Washington Capitals had gotten injured, if Darcy Kemper would have gotten injured, the Capitals would have had to have an emergency goalie or would have had to have somebody on short notice come into the game because Lindgren was not there and their goalie from the AHL was not ready to get there on 20 minutes before the game kicked off. So, obviously stuff like this happens, travel issues in the NHL. We've seen it before, but it was just kind of an interesting moment at T-Mobile Arena, seeing the Washington Capitals had only one goalie present to begin the game, and that was Darcy Kemper. And as the game kicked off in the first period, Tom Wilson, being who Tom Wilson has been throughout his career, which is a menace to the Vegas Golden Knights, as in the first period, Tom Wilson would have a slashing penalty against Ivan Barbashev. There's also a few moments in this game tonight where Tom Wilson was really being a chaotic kind of player. He was trying to push people's buttons. I mean, it's what he always does anyway. And some people like it. Some people don't like it. Personally, I'm a fan of Tom Wilson. He's a player that you want to have on your team. Every player, every team has at least one player on a roster where you are happy if he's on your roster, but you don't like him if he's on your opposite roster. And Tom Wilson's that type of guy. I'm a fan of Tom Wilson. He's somebody who I will say I would love to have in Vegas if he was on my team, but unfortunately he was playing for Washington. But yeah, Tom Wilson in this entire game, he was just pushing buttons, trying to get Vegas to, kind of lose their discipline, lose their edge. And Vegas did not kind of fall for the bait, which is actually fantastic. The Vegas did not fall for it. There was no calls against Tom Wilson. No, none of that happened in this game. But let me tell you what did happen in this game. Almost halfway into first period, Jonathan Marchessault with his 10th goal of the season for your Vegas Golden Knights, assisted by Jack Eichel and a nice setup by your goalie in Logan Thompson. It would make it a 1-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. And I just really got to give appreciation to Logan Thompson for the way he shot the puck down the middle of the ice, connected to Eichel, and then Eichel had a nice setup pass to Jonathan Marchessault to get it past Darcy Kemper and put the puck in the back of the net. It just really was a stand-up play by your Vegas Golden Knights. It showed the chemistry is still here, that despite what has happened recently in Vegas, they had that losing streak a couple of days ago. They are now on all cylinders. It looks like Vegas has finally been able to turn their luck around. And in the Vegas Golden Knights, it would end the first period up 1-0 over Washington. And not even 90 seconds into the second period, Jack Eichel, the guy who had the assist and a good setup pass on the Jonathan Marchessault goal, he would have his 10th goal of the season, this time assisted by Ben Hutton. It would make it a 2-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. And Jack Eichel, there's people who say he's a top 10 player in the league. I'm definitely in the category on that one, and this is one of the main reasons why. Jack Eichel is one of the most efficient scorers in the NHL. He is a sniper. He is someone that if you want to put the puck on most people's stick, Jack Eichel would be somebody I would very much want to have the puck in his hands, the puck on his stick when it matters the most. He is a clutch player in Vegas. So I will say in that whole second period, not much happened in the second period, despite a little bit of sloppy play from Washington. As the Washington Capitals, they ended up having a situation where the Washington Capitals had not one, but 2 penalties from John Carlson on the same player. So a minute into the game on the second period, John Carlson had a hooking penalty against William Carrier. And then halfway into the second period, once again, John Carlson would meet William Carrier and cause a tripping penalty on his terms, and would allow John Carlson to go back in the penalty box once again. So Carrier 2, Carlson 0 in that counter. So to me, it was just kind of ironic that John Carlson hooked and tripped the exact same guy in the same period. And then later in the second period, this was something that got a lot of people's attention. Evgeny Kuznetsov, who had a penalty against Paul Cotter in the previous game that they met up, where Paul Cotter got a match penalty for his collision with Evgeny Kuznetsov. Well, about 2 minutes left into the second period, Evgeny Kuznetsov had a roughing penalty against Jonathan Marchessault. And some people say it might have been some aggression after being down 2-0, but I just look at it and go, Evgeny Kuznetsov trying to get a little bit of revenge, a little bit of comeuppance for what happened with the Paul Cotter hit that happened in the previous matchup. So I'll say for the Washington Capitals, not a good look for Washington that you had all the penalties in the second period. You had all the penalties in the first period. You had a lack of discipline against Vegas, and Vegas was not falling for the bait of you trying to coerce them to get penalties in this game. So as you got into the last period here, there's actually been some really good situations happening. And once again, kind of to start out the period, not even 1 minute in, your captain, my captain, everyone in Vegas's captain, Mark Stone, with his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Ivan Barbashev. And once again, Jack Eichel with an assist, a good setup on this play, made it a 3-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. And, most people don't ever want to talk about, shutting out a team. Most people don't really ever want to bring that up. But this was really a dominating performance by Vegas. They really showed at the first 45 minutes of the game, they were in cruise control. They were really in control of this entire game, the Vegas Golden Knights were, because they weren't falling for what Washington was trying to do. Washington is a physical type of team. So I look at it and say, you know what? Vegas really took control and really kept the pressure on Washington. It didn't allow Washington to kind of do what they want to do, and that was play their style of game. So for your Vegas Golden Knights, they were up, and they did not allow a goal until about 5 minutes left in the game, as Tom Wilson, who I mentioned earlier in this episode, had his 8th goal of the season, assisted by Dylan Strome and John Carlson, to make it a 3-2-1 game with about less than 5 minutes in the third period. And I will say, when it comes to Tom Wilson, yes, he is a goal scorer. Of course, he's not Ovechkin, he's not Backstrom, he's not Oshie, but he's someone who can put a puck in the back of the net if he needs to. And I will say that was an example of that there. But Vegas had a little bit of a comeback there, because with 2 minutes left, the Washington Capitals would pull Darcy Kemper, and Jonathan Marchessault would have an empty net goal, his second goal of the game. It would be his 11th goal of the season for your Vegas Golden Knights, assisted by Paul Cotter and William Karlsson, and that would be towards the end of this game, as Vegas would win 4-1 at T-Mobile Arena. And of course, there was some late shoving and pushing, as with about a minute left in the game. Beck Melenzen and William Carrier would have roughing penalties against each other. Unfortunately, the teams did not allow them to drop the gloves and fight, but it was still roughing penalties against Melenzen and against Carrier. So your Vegas Golden Knights would pick up the win in this game, 4-1, and your player of the game, he has to go to a top 10 player in the league, and that is Jack Eichel. I mean, Jack Eichel had a really good performance tonight. That setup goal on Jonathan Marchessault, his own goal in second period, and then lastly, him having an assist on the Mark Stone goal in the third period. So Jack Eichel with a 3-point game for your Vegas Golden Knights against Washington. And I will say, for Vegas, this is definitely a good game for them. And this is definitely going to build some momentum, as they are now on a 2-game winning streak. Your Vegas Golden Knights are. And this was definitely a good recovery for Vegas. Like I mentioned, that losing streak kind of deflated Vegas for a little bit. It kind of seemed like Vegas was just lost. They were kind of just mentally not meh. But the last 2 games, winning 4-1 against Vancouver, winning 4-1 against Washington, this really shows you that your Vegas Golden Knights can overcome struggles. You know, Vegas Golden Knights can overcome challenges like a losing streak, because that's really what defines a season. You know, you're not really defined by when you're winning 9 in a row, 10 in a row. You've won 7 games at home straight. You've won 7 straight games on the road. That really doesn't define you. What defines you as a team is, how do you perform when you lose a superstar? How do you perform when your starting goaltender goes out? How do you perform when you are on a losing streak on the road, when you're on a losing streak at home? You know, how do you step up? How do you recover from a setback? Because I've always said about hockey, and I'll continue to say it on this show, the way you kind of recover from a misstep is what really shows me how you're going to perform come playoff time. You know, if there is a setback early in the season and your team just does not recover, and there's a couple of teams I'm thinking of, but I'm going to be nice and not say them, you will lose come playoff time, because you are not going to be able to face that pressure. You're not going to be able to face that intensity come playoff time, because intensity and your performance early in the season, when something bad happens, really shows how you are going to perform when the lights are the brightest. And for Vegas, we have seen the last 7 seasons, when they get knocked down, Vegas just normally shrugs it off and gets right back up. And I can appreciate it about Vegas. So your Vegas Golden Knights right here, right now, 16-5-4 on the year. and your Vegas Golden Knights, their upcoming schedule, by the way, they're going to be having a back-to-back performance against your St. Louis Blues out there for any Missouri fans, anybody out there in the state of Missouri. But yeah, for the St. Louis Blues, back-to-back games. First one will be here in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena at your Fortress. And then the second one will be at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. So you're going to definitely have a back-to-back situation. We'll see how Vegas performs there. And then after the St. Louis series, you are going to have the team going to the American Airlines Arena in Dallas before heading back home, San Jose, T-Mobile Arena. So let's break down the stats of this game very quickly before we get towards the end of the show, because there's some statistics we could break down between Vegas and Washington. Because not only did Jonathan Marchessault have a 2-goal night, not only make some very clutch plays in this Washington and Vegas situation, but Vegas simply outshot Washington all night long, as Vegas had 36 shots on net compared to Washington's 22. The Vegas Golden Knights out-hit Washington 22-17. And when it came to discipline, Washington had 10 penalty minutes compared to your Vegas Golden Knights having 4 penalty minutes. The face-off situation unfortunately went to Washington. Washington won 58% of face-offs compared to Vegas's 42%. And then the rest of the team stats with Washington and Vegas, you ended up having a situation where the Washington Capitals went 0 for 1 on the power play, as your Vegas Golden Knights went 1 for 4 on the power play. Of course, power play goal by Jonathan Marchessault in the beginning of the game. The Vegas Golden Knights had 13 takeaways compared to only 3 giveaways. So your Vegas Golden Knights, they did pretty well at getting the puck back into their zone, getting some pressure, and forcing Washington to play a different style than normal. So I'll say that your Vegas Golden Knights did a really good job tonight against the Washington Capitals. And since we have about 7 minutes left, I do want to very quickly address our minor league team in the AHL. Of course, I'm talking about the Henderson Silver Knights because they had a game recently. So the Henderson Silver Knights, they had a game recently. It was on Friday, so it was the day before this one, and that was the Calgary Flames going to the Dollar Loan Center and playing your Henderson Silver Knights. And man, what a game this was. So to kind of just break it down very quickly here on the show, you had the Calgary Flames going up against the Henderson Silver Knights, and it was a 2-1 game. Unfortunately, the Calgary Wranglers, I almost said Las Vegas Wranglers, hey, force of habit. Calgary Wranglers beat the Henderson Silver Knights 2-1 at Dollar Loan Center. So Clark Bishop, a former teammate of William Carrier of the Vegas Golden Knights, he had a goal for the Calgary Wranglers in the first half of the first period, and it was a 1-0 game for Calgary in the first period. And then Calgary had a 2-0 lead as they actually scored with a few minutes left in the second period, and they were up 2-0 on Henderson. And then late in the game, Mason Morelli, he took a shot from the faceoff, went past the goaltender, and had a 2-1 game with a few minutes left. Gregory Diansenko, Jonas Raumberg with the assist for Henderson. Calgary, unfortunately, kept on and won this game 2-1. Henderson will be taking on Calgary tomorrow, kind of to do it back on this doubleheader situation with Henderson and with Calgary. So if you're in the Henderson area, if you want to watch, some good games, the Henderson Silver Knights and Calgary Wranglers will be at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. That will be tomorrow. And I will say lastly here on the show, here on Vegas Hockey Hub, that we are going to be doing more recap shows. For example, the next game against St. Louis, even the back-to-back series, we are going to be doing that. We're also going to be uploading more content onto the network. We are going to be doing a breakdown on the injuries that are affecting your Vegas Golden Knights right now. So stay tuned for that on Vegas Hockey Hub. And I will say, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, it was a good win. They picked up some good momentum, and I like what I saw from Washington in this game. So until next time, this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and continue watching hockey. Go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.